I'm currently the Director of Business Development for Troy Ventures. Troy Ventures is the umbrella company, and then we have a couple verticals. SecureNet MD, which is the healthcare vertical. Delmarva Voip, which is the small business and enterprise Voip systems, voice over internet protocol. And then we have the Delmarva Repair, which is dedicated to sort of the device level items, cracked screens and such. So my job, I'm kind of involved in all three verticals, but a lot of my job is partnering with other organizations, partnering with the colleges. You know, it's kind of a wide scope of items, which is great because I get to do a little bit of sales, a little bit of marketing, a little bit of business development. My days are quite busy. So I'm happy to be here this morning to talk, because this is, I came to Dell Tech in 2000, started in 1999, joined the service, came back, and 8 years later to the entrepreneurship program and really learned a lot through that program. So does anyone know who this person is here? So it's a Saturday Night Live skit, and essentially the essence of it is that that individual computer guy that gets very frustrated that you don't know everything and tells you to get out of the way and ends up taking your seat to fix your problem. So I just wanted to illustrate that because many people feel that sort of anxiety around calling their IT guy because they feel like they're going to be belittled and kind of beat down about the issue, when in actuality he's supposed to be there to fix the problem. So we're not a new company, but we do have a new offering. Oh, I do want to mention that we did open up a 3,000 square foot facility in Dover, Delaware. So we'll be expanding our services up to Dover and beyond. So about managed services, you know, the concept of it is you have a team of IT professionals to assist you in your business for your devices, and that way you're outsourcing some of the technical challenges associated with your computers, your devices, your phones. So some of the items that are included in a managed services agreement would be preventative maintenance. We'll keep an eye on things and give you a heads up if something's about to break or sort of declining and being degraded over time. That way you can act appropriately and not, you know, be a week down because your computer systems have gone down or your phone systems have gone down. We provide testing, cleaning, updating, inspecting, and adjusting those devices. So I'll come up with we'll talk about a concept to really make it a little bit less complicated on the next slide. But essentially, you have IT professionals available to you, and it's not just you're only calling IT when something's broken. There's a preventative maintenance aspect that's important. So we'll remotely from our offices actually watch the performance of your computers, watch the performance of your phones, identify if your internet goes out, and a lot of times we'll call you before you even know there's an issue. So the concept, I mean, this is a happy mechanic, obviously. He's fixing your car and he's got a thumbs up. So conceptually, your car should be like your vehicle. When you buy your new car, you take it in for maintenance. You take it into your mechanic every 3,000 miles or 5,000 to be updated. Oil change, flush, things like that. They make recommendations based upon the history of your vehicle, based upon the mileage of your vehicle, based upon what they've done in the past. And it all applies conceptually to what your computer systems or your IT systems should, the maintenance associated with that should be like. It should be scheduled, it should be consistent, it should be with one team. That way over time, they know the history of your devices. And there's a lot of benefits with having someone or a team of people that identify with your devices, know what your setup is, and they understand the history of your vehicle. So the real benefits. The priority and the priority associated with having a team, the priority response. So if you have a managed service agreement, you're not going to have to wait an entire week to have that one IT guy come out to your site. And resolution times. If indeed we know the history of your devices, how old they are, what models they are, what they're configured to, what they're networked to, does your computer talk to your printer, is your printer wireless? Us wrapping our arms around those through a managed service agreement, we understand and we can quickly get in there and actually evaluate faster, and resolution time will be faster, which essentially over time will cut down on cost. Because if you call some random IT person to come to your office and they've got to spend 4 hours understanding what your entire network is first, they're not actually fixing the problem. They're doing discovery. So with a managed service agreement in place, you actually have someone that is very aware of your situation. Another thing that we do under managed services agreement, we sit down with our clients and we do planning sessions. It depends on the size and the complexity of the office, but we'll actually do quarterly planning where we'll sit down and do a technology review. We'll go over and say, these pieces of equipment are a little bit outdated. We might want to update those in the next 5 months. This will give the offices and the businesses an opportunity to put place items in their budgets, and that way they can budget accordingly and not have that fire that one day where their computer systems go down and they can't see their clients or they can't access files, and then it wastes time, wastes productivity. And then a local customer service team. We've got over 40-some professionals, IT professionals with a variety of different certificates and specialties, and all of them are local. So we can surge out anybody during the week pretty consistently, or we can handle things over the phone. And then you have a dedicated tech team. So it's your team, they get to know your systems, and a big problem that we see is that, nowadays, there's so much private information that's on your systems, whether it's you're dropping your phone off to get fixed, that technician can lift any of your information off of there. Think about that. If you have an app that goes right to your bank account and you drop your phone off to be fixed, now they can have access to that. So we send all our folks through, I think it's a 7-layer security check, background check, and then we have HIPAA compliance through our healthcare branch. So that dedicated team is pretty important. So this is a snapshot of what we look at if we're monitoring your systems. We get a health score of what your devices are. So if there starts to be a degradation in your computer systems, or it's slowing down, or an antivirus has expired, we'll actually notify you. And we'll say, hey, your antivirus has expired. You need to update this. We're noticing that you're having degradation in your actual computer system or your runtime. We'll make recommendations on making upgrades. Automation, remote support. You call us. If someone's available, they'll help you out over the phone. They'll log into your system, and they'll actually take control of your screen and clean stuff up, change stuff around. So quickly, analysis. So when we have that data, we can make recommendations. We can identify problem areas, and we could really, which I think is the most important, have a history of all your issues associated with your devices. So that way you're making better decisions, smarter decisions for your business, and you're having the right equipment to run your business. And then the steps, lastly. So the steps are typically, I'll run through these. The evaluation and technology audit, we have to understand the landscape. We take inventory and document all your different devices. You can use that for insurance purposes as well, so it'll be utilized in different ways. We'll take a look at what plan makes most sense, if it's per user, per device, or some type of fixed monthly fee. The onboarding process, we introduce you to the team that you'll be working with. We'll acclimate you to our processes, our systems. The disaster recovery plan, which I think is a huge add value to small businesses. Because what happens if your systems go down, if your power goes down, if your internet goes down? What's your backup plan? What's your plan B? Can you run that credit card at your retail shop if indeed your systems are not working properly? And then a security plan. We'll look at how vulnerable you are for security. Cybersecurity is a huge thing because there's more transactional items going on, more information shared online. So that concludes the presentation. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Questions? One moment. I should have picked up this other mic.
I guess I understand that if the customer, me, enters into an agreement with you, then you analyze the computer equipment I have in my home office. And then through LinkedIn and all these other things that you can operate remotely, you monitor my systems, and if you see something wrong, well, you either fix it or let me know or whatever.
You are 99% correct. It's not, I don't know if by LinkedIn, do you mean the website LinkedIn or?
No,
okay,
no.
Yes, then you're 100% correct.
Talk to me, or whatever the hell it is I do with my daughter.
We can talk, yes, yes. And it's interesting that you say that because from a residential standpoint, there's a lot more vulnerabilities than a small business or a medium-sized business because the businesses typically have professionals that can handle those things. But if you have, out of the box, if you were to buy a wireless printer, it's automatically sort of transmitting wirelessly and it doesn't have a security fail-safe. So if someone was close enough to get that signal, they could tap into your printer, your scanner, and they could essentially, if you're scanning documents on behalf of a client, they can see what you're scanning. So I think from a residential standpoint, small office, I think it's very important to have something like this. And it's pretty cost effective. If we do a device to device, in some cases it's $9.99 a month to monitor your systems. Take a look at your RAM, your hard drive space, your antivirus, your vulnerabilities, and then alert you if something were to happen. Alert comes through, goes into our ticketing system, we evaluate it, the level of severity, we'll contact you if we think it's a high severity.
Well, you'll spend a week at my place. I got 20 years.
So exactly who is your target market, please?
Mine specifically is manufacturers. I feel that we need to bring manufacturing back to not only the country but to the state. And there's a lot of items that, from a technology standpoint, that I could serve as a technology navigator to help these manufacturing companies be more efficient, more automated, and be more competitive regionally through upgrading and revamping their technologies. That's my specific focus area, but healthcare is a huge one for us. I mean, some of our clients are BB, Nanacoke, Bay Health, so we really focus in on that. And then a lot of multi-location small businesses, they usually save a lot of money by switching over. If you have 5 offices and you're paying for phones, internet, and cable for every single one location, if we take over your phone systems, we remove all your phones under one software, and we can save upward. One client, we saved over 1,000% a month on phone bills because we were able to consolidate their phones under one software. So that's pretty, even if it's 40% for a small business, I mean, that's pretty good.
So your focus is business and not residential. Do you do residential?
We do some residential, but it's not a huge focus for us. But you know, like Walt said, there are a lot of questions, and you would, it would make sense to have someone that knows your history, that has an idea of what you're working with from if you have a home business or a home network. That way we can quickly evaluate it.
Thank you. Les?
So obviously I have a home business, and do we bring our computers to you, or do you come to us?
We do a site visit because we have got to see, we have to take an inventory of who your internet service provider is, and we'll watch their uptime. We actually work with Comcast a lot. If indeed someone is having an issue, we can talk to Comcast and talk the language. A lot of people call Comcast and say it's broke. But we can actually ask, can you send us a packet analysis? And a packet analysis is the information that goes through the pipes, essentially, which is the internet. And then we can also do other sort of troubleshooting. So yes, we would like to go on site to take inventory. Say you've got 2 computers, 1 printer, network, you've got a router, you're with Comcast, and we've got to take inventory. That way we have an understanding of what you're working with, your network, and then we can inventory it and keep it on record. So if you do have an issue, you call us, our technician will pull up your file and say, she's got 2 printers, or she's got 2 computers, a printer, a fax machine, and a phone with 2 phone numbers. And that way we can quickly evaluate and get to the issue.
All right, thank you so much. That's great.
No problem.
How can you or do you interact with the agricultural department, mainly poultry?
Currently, how we're interacting with them is we have been one of the biggest local service providers that's been holding the flag of high-speed internet. So we partnered with Broad Valley yesterday with their 7-mile fiber ring. We're in talks with another broadband high-speed internet company that's putting up a 16-antenna network throughout the entire county, which is going to give the chicken farmers access to high-speed internet. That way they don't have to take their thumb drive all the way out to the chicken houses, crunch their numbers, download their spreadsheets, drive all the way back home, plug it into their computer at their house or their office, download the spreadsheets, and that lethargic. So we are working actively with on the infrastructure side to improve services downstream. And then once that's available, then we can work with the chicken farmers directly and improve their services. That way they can be more competitive on the Eastern Shore.
There's two areas of focus. Number one is feed management with the company. I don't know if you know it or not, but Purdue or any of them, they provide the birds and the feed, and at the end of the 8 or 9 or 10 weeks, the grow out period, they total up, and the farmer gets a percentage. The company gets the biggest percentage because that's when they get paid for their feed they supplied. Will your system provide an independent accounting system separate from the company?
So accounting or like a logistics system?
No, accounting.
So we don't necessarily work with the softwares. We work with the hardwares that the softwares kind of communicate with. So,
You see, the farmer don't always trust the company,
okay,
and there's relevancy there.
okay.
I'm just saying, how can you make the farmer more comfortable? The other area is, 20 years ago, you're sitting in church Sunday night, and the farmer's sitting there with a buzzer on his belt. And he goes, bzzz, and he jumps up and goes to the farm. Well, with technology, he might just go to the vestibule and see what's wrong.
So regarding ag, so my thesis in grad school right now is hydroponics, and the major focus is the technology portions of that. So imagine a farmer sitting on the beach with their iPhone, basically adjusting temperatures of the chicken house, adjusting the feeders, things like that. That is the future. Where we need to work now is improving the infrastructure to provide high-speed internet to those individual chicken houses, which are going to allow the hardwares and the softwares and the technologies that will help facilitate those type of automated systems. So it's coming, Walt. Stick around for, hopefully you're around then. So, yes, and I know Mike has been involved with me, is really stepping on the right toes to get people to stand up regarding providing improved internet speeds, broadband, which will only help the businesses be more competitive and be able to adopt and evolve with the technologies that are now available for them. Because we're seeing ag in other areas that has really automated a lot of their systems and processes, but we have to improve the technology infrastructure first. And that's the hardest part. And once that's in place, especially when the sons and daughters are taking over, they understand the technologies, so they're taking over the farms from their parents, it'll be an easy transition. We're getting there. We're behind it.
Because 30-40% of the company, that's not a cut and dried thing that the kid's taking over from mom and dad. Some of the companies won't accept the kids. And also another issue that's come to the forefront in poultry farming is the state has increased the requirements for stormwater management and so forth. I worked with an engineer and I sent him to 4 sites in the last 3 months, and he disqualified them all because there's not enough room for stormwater management. 2 years ago, I'd have sold that land as a poultry farm and moved on down the road. So that's becoming more competitive. And I think technology will help it.
Let's hope so, or I don't have a job.
Well, thank you, Rob, for the presentation this morning. And I'm going to give his company a plug. And because Leslie has a phone that definitely needs to be addressed. This phone here, this is a testimonial. This phone here looked like a bunch of spider webs, and I'd pull it out, and I believe I embarrassed him at various discussions that I'd be pulling this thing out, it would be nothing but a bunch of spider webs, and he says, why don't you come by and touch base with us? So you see my phone today? Right. Right.
That's like having shards of glass in your fingertips as you're...
Yeah.
That's the small part, that's probably a small part of it, but it's huge.
Yeah.
For people like myself.
Right.
Yeah.
So part of my testimonial is obviously I got my phone fixed there, right? But in the process also is that based on the gray hair, I have a computer that Dell made in 1902. And I brought that to this organization to take a look at my old Dell, and obviously Rob and his organization said, don't you really want to get upgraded? Don't you want to come into the real world? So yes, I did purchase a product from their company, and I must say that they've been very, very supportive all the way in breaking me into Windows 8. And Windows 8 is supposedly nothing like Windows 10 necessarily, but Windows 8 is giving the old gray hair a little bit of a struggle, and thanks to his company. Yeah. So, but getting back to the commercial side of the business, and I brought this, I think, up in a question to your company before. Being a retailer and having been around now and watching all these point of sale systems go in place, I just feel that the systems that are in place and are going in place today leave security out of the overall question about the point of sale that's going in. And I'd like to just have your feel about how a company like yourself could actually go into a retailer and take over the point of sale issues too that revolve around as much of my security as the customer as the retailer's security as far as being the, obviously, the outlet.
So I actually jokingly made a recommendation for a small retailer when the new chip came out and the requirements for the chip, and then there was vulnerabilities, and I said it may make sense for you to rent an ATM machine and send all individuals that are going to make a purchase to the ATM machine up front so they pay cash, so you can wait until everything settles out. And she kind of looked at me like I was crazy, and I said, you know, I was like, if you're really worried about taking on the risk and the responsibility for a fraud, then it may make sense to rent an ATM machine. But in actuality, that's not feasible for most small businesses and retail shops. So where, excuse me, where we see things going is creating, for small retail shops, is creating sort of a technology ecosystem inside of each individual office. That way you're running everything through the internet, whether it's point of sale, whether it's phones, whether it's surveillance cameras, your devices, voice, data, everything runs through your internet. So with that, when you have everything in one spot, it's a lot easier to keep tabs and create ways of authenticating for transactional purposes, authenticating for user login. So if someone's logging in to pay a bill online, there's ways to control the security. You just have to kind of bring it in under one hood, and that way you have a little bit more control and oversight onto it. And that's what through a managed services agreement, we can actually make recommendations on what securities you need to put in place, like the printer issue, that automatically you take that printer out of the box, it's automatically transmitting Wi-Fi. It's a minor thing, but it's an oversight by most. So that's one of the very specific features, which indeed, point of sale is another one. We can make recommendations in and around security, that way you're less vulnerable and there's less risk. There's a lot of reluctancy, and the major reluctancy for adopting some of these newer technologies is based upon the vulnerabilities that come along with it. But if you take the right precautions and you hire professionals that understand the vulnerabilities, I think that'll be a good investment in the long run, and not having to get an ATM machine at the front of your office.
Other questions, comments? Okay. I have, as I was listening to you speak, I was remembering a company that we had here that there was like an umbrella company, and under that there were like 3 separate companies. And I think that might be a good lead for you to chat with them. So if you'll remind me afterwards or send me an email, I'll be happy to try to make that introduction for you.
Great, thank you.
With you, okay. What can we as a community do to help support you?
Educate yourselves a little bit, whether it's through reading, whether it's through conversations with technical people, to better understand what the opportunities are in and around technology. But not only the opportunities, but the vulnerabilities. So if you're going to adopt something new, if you're in a specific industry, look what the industry is doing. Go to trade shows, go walk through the booths, see what type of devices or technology that they're utilizing for their own businesses, and just try to be aware of what's coming down and what is going to improve your businesses. If you have your small business, try to hire people that have a technology background. And even if you do not like the technology or you're not a huge advocate for it, be open-minded and allow those individuals, those younger, more tech-focused individuals, to sort of be the advocate in your business And that way, it's going to allow your business to be in the right spot for when technology, comes down the pipeline.